on YouTubers, gamers and fellow hobbyists, and welcome to this week's episode of P&Q, the question and answer series where you get to ask me questions or put comments to me and then I respond to you the following week. Now you can do this one of four ways. You can pop your comments or questions down below in the comments section, or you can email me directly for an anonymous response at miniwarzone@gmail.com. I think I'd remember that by now, wouldn't you? I'll put a link in the video description below. Or if you make a video yourself asking a question to the masses or whatever, and I see that and I pick it up, I'll answer that here. Or if we're talking in person and we're talking about something, or you ask me a question, obviously I'll answer you there and then and we'll talk about it. But I may want to raise that as a topic for discussion, or use the question here also. So 4 ways in total. Now, you may notice, what's this all about? Well, this is Bertie. Bert, B-E-R-T, not Bert, B-U-R-T. Bert, short for Bertie. This is my wife's first knitted toy that she's made. So she decided to make this for me. And so I've decided Bert here, he's going to become a mascot for Mini Warzone. He's going to be here in the background. I'm just going to be like a lucky mascot. So, you know, effectively he's my new staff member. So I'm putting him here because I think it's awesome. My wife's only been knitting for a few months, well, 4 or 5 months, not long, and she's doing stuff like this already. That's just awesome. I think it's great. And always good to have some help, hey? But I like it. He's a Bert, not a Bert. Bert. Okay, Bert. So that's that. So it may seem odd, but hey, I'm an odd guy. Right. We have no emails, no questions in person. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 video questions that I've managed to pick up, and the comments or questions, whatever they may be, from last week's show. So let's get on with that, starting with the video questions. So starting with Kuja and Kiwi on their Hyro Hobby Sunday. And the question they posed is, what is your honest opinion of the new Shadespire Warhammer box set? And out of every game that you have ever played, what is/was your first video game crush? So 2 questions there really. So let's start with the Warhammer one. Shadespire, I know nothing of it. I'm only guessing here that it's fantasy based. And another guess, sorry, there's a piece of fluff on my camera box. I'm guessing also that it's maybe like a starter set introduction type game. I don't know. So I have no opinion on that. So that's a very boring answer for you. Yeah, boring answer there to start with, Bert. Right. What was your first video game crush? I don't recall having one, really. Oh yeah, we'll say, I know what I'm going to say. I'll say Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Yeah, I quite liked her, even though in the old days, graphically she wasn't that great to look at, but but it's come a long way since then. But yeah, I'll say Tomb Raider. Lara Croft was my first video game crush, and last. I can't think of any others really. Okay, so moving on, and the next video question I have comes from Black Country Wargamer. This is a good one. On his Ask My Audience series, says, do you buy storage for your models first, or do you buy the models and then think of storage for them afterwards? I'm definitely a buy the models first and then think about the storage afterwards type of guy. Definitely. In fact, I'm going out later today to purchase some storage boxes for my resin bits of terrain that I'm accumulating at quite a rapid pace. So yeah, and yeah, I always tend to get the models first and then think about the storage later. I don't think I've ever bought storage first and then thought, oh, what models can I put in there? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm definitely buy the models first and then think about what I'm going to use to store them in. Definitely. Okay. Next video question is from Basic Miniature Painting. Just a general question. It says, do you prefer painting the finer details of models, or do you loathe it? Depends on the model. I kind of am not, or how I'm feeling as well. I think generalistically, I'm better with it on like a character model or a model that's going to be used in game, as opposed to, say, terrain. Or I think to myself, oh, I just want to get it half decent. But I know that's a lazy way of doing things. But I do it, and so I suppose terrain would be the harder one for me. Not that I don't loathe it. I just prefer doing the models more, the guys, the monsters or whatever they may be. Yeah. So I don't loathe it, but I do prefer other details more on both. And it does depend on how I'm feeling. So I just might be thinking, I don't want to do little tiny details. Other days I might think, oh yeah, I really want to do that, Or I might dig some models out of that, like kind of tabletop stand, and just try and do some more highlights or more details on them to try and up the game on them a bit more. Good question, I like it. And the last video question comes from the Nerd Life on the Monday Q and Puppy Power. That was it. It says, what's the strangest job you've ever had? Or just talk about some of the jobs you've had. Strangest job I've ever had. Do you know, I've had 27 jobs in my life. 27. 27. Most of them have been boring though. I've been in all sorts, from factory worker to a coffee salesman to manager, team manager. What they call, what was it? What was the title when I worked for? Customer relations officer. That was I had a lot of kind of power to do stuff when I was a customer relations officer. I could make out of policy decisions and things like that. But the company was not very good to work for. I've been a telephone sales representative, or customer service. I've done all that. I've worked in the motor trade. I've been in garage. I've done panel beating. I've done stores, forklift driving, delivery driving. I've worked as a baker. I learned how to become a baker in a bakery, and did a lot of that. Goodness me, all sorts. Been a bouncer, loads of stuff. Absolutely loads of stuff. Strangest jobs I've ever had. I think they're all a bit strange, if you ask me. They're all strange. So yeah, that's a little bit of some of the stuff I've done. Not that exciting though. Good question though, fantastic. Alright, so let's get on to the questions from last week's show. This is what's happened. So the first one comes from Frost and Fist, so it might not even be a question. Just says, great chat, my brother. I'm still really fond of the Sega days myself. The Sega Genesis was so great during its time. Funnily enough, my wife and I just got the mini SNES that they've released, and now I'm just horrible at all the games I excelled at as a kid. Take care, my brother, Wolf Brother Mythos. Yeah, I found that as well with games. Several years ago, I started getting into retro computer games. I'm not talking a few years ago now. Before I discovered, this hobby, and this hobby's just taken over. But yeah, I started getting into retro games that I was good at as a kid. I mean, really good. Now I suck big time at them. I really do. I'm just rubbish at them. Is that because I'm just getting old, or I'm just not used to it anymore? I don't know. Sophistication of games has come on a long way in my lifetime. I mean, I'm almost going back to the era of Pong, bat and a square ball going across the screen. Beep, beep, beep. That's how old I am. I quite like that game. Yeah, I suck at them as well, man. Super Wargamer says, lol, chicken crap meat. I mean, I was talking about what does a ripper taste like, and I can't even remember my answer. Probably chicken. So you were saying chicken is a crap meat? I don't know. But, well, whatever. Okay. Idic Beer, 40k. Says, great episode as always, Pete. How different do you think YouTube will be in 10 years' time, assuming it's still around? I think YouTube will... I know it's part of Google, but I think it will kind of merge with the Google search engine, and what you'll get is a kind of... it'll be like an encyclopedia of videos that people have done, and it will select the best ones, and they'll be rated, and I think you'll always get the top, you know, like the top 10 on your search engine, you know. So whatever you're searching for, you just, I don't know, say you wanted to know when a certain celebrity died, I think you'll type that in, asking for the question, and it will come up with the information, but it'll also come up with YouTube video as well. And maybe, I don't know, the rate that technology is expanding, I think we'll probably have some sort of AI customer service rep to deal with talking to YouTube. So you won't actually be talking with a person, but you want to talk to YouTube, but it'll be an AI that, it might even be digitally represented, like a Head and Shoulders or something, I don't know. But it'll have all the information, YouTube policies and things like that, may direct you around and things. I think so. I also think advertising will be more and more of a thing for YouTube. Possibly they may start charging us if we don't have adverts on our channels. I don't know. I believe they're taking away the paid YouTube content as an option now for content creators, so that's no longer viable, I think. So I think they may either come up with something else, like they may call it YouTube Professional or something like that, where you know, your videos have to meet a certain standard. Maybe you have to use certain like music, sound effects, all from their libraries, which I'm sure they may charge you for. I don't know, but it's definitely going to change. I know that much, and yes, I think it will be here in 10 years' time. I think it's here to stay. I think the other platformers will struggle to try and compete, so they'll have to do different things. But yeah, I think YouTube is definitely changing. I think it'll be here in 10 years. I think it'll be in 20 years. Right. Drake's War Channel is next. He says, good day, sir. My question is, what category attracts you most with respect to 6mm wargaming, miniature wargaming? Fantasy, historical, or science fiction? Would you be interested in adding a navy to such a force? 6mm is equivalent to 1 285th scale and 1 300th scales. Miniatures in this scale have the advantage of being inexpensive. The small size also means there is less visible detail to paint. In this scale, it is possible to put armies on the tabletop with masses of military units on a wide front. Figures are available for fantasy, historical, and science fiction. 6mm is 1 268th scale. Wow. What attracts me most with respect to 6mm wargaming? At the moment, I'd say fantasy. At the moment, I'd say fantasy and historical ancients periods. Yeah, at the moment. Although there may come a time where I go delve into the science fiction side of things as well. So here's what I want to. Here's my vision. To do battle reports of certain games, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter what it is at this stage. Let's take science fiction for example. To do 6mm epic scale battles in space, have them land on a planet, up the scale slightly, and then play maybe 28mm. Who knows? Or Navy, yes, naval. I would add Navy to such a force, definitely. If it was naval battles and then come on to, they land and then we'll up the scale that way. I don't know, yeah, possibly. But I thought of doing it with like Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings starts off like with Fellowship of the Ring. As you may know, the only sort of encounters you've had, Lord of the Rings is a strange one, because if you're playing games, the Fellowship of the Ring is more suited to an RPG or skirmish game at best. Whereas later on, when you've got the massive war, the war really starts and the big armies and battles, it's huge. I think that would suit 6mm, and even Helm's Deep may be good with 6mm. But Minas Tirith, the battle there, that would be good in 6mm. I mean, to look at on a tabletop, I think. So, yeah, but to begin with, I think 28mm would be fine. So yeah, but that's my vision. To start off with big, go to small, and big again, depending on how the story unfolds. So to have an RPG game of Lord of the Rings at the start, where they're trying to get away from the Nazgul, the Black Riders, and that sense of menace, which is really cool. The meeting of Strider, even Tom Bombadil, just follow their journey. But like when you get onto the bigger battles, it may need to be represented as a tabletop war game, and who knows. I'm going to put my thinking cap on and try to come up with something. That's a great question though. So to answer the question, really, fantasy and historical, more so, but all of them eventually. Jim White says, thank you for the video, Peter. You are most welcome, sir. Jamjar34 says, great P&Q, mate. Some awesome questions. Question for you. You have 5+ minutes to talk about a subject of my choice. The subject is Congo. Thought you were going to like it. Okay, Congo. Talk about Congo. Well, here's the book. I've started bookmarking like pages that I go to quite a bit. What can I say about Congo? You see the book, you've all seen the book, Adventures in the Heart of Africa. Yeah. This game just exudes professionalism and quality. The book is stunning. The artwork is stunning. The pictures, the photography is phenomenal. It really is. But yeah, it's really good artwork. Yeah. And it's just got so much depth. And I'm excited because they are bringing out an expansion for it. I don't know what it's called. I believe it's going to have new scenarios, custom missions maybe. But there's talk of having a campaign system in place. Now I think Congo would really suit a campaign style of gameplay. I really do. I think it could be phenomenal for that. I really, really think Congo would be great as a campaign. Now there's another example of, it's never going to get into the realms of epic massive battles or anything like that, because it is essentially a skirmish game. So, but it could go down to a few characters. That is a possibility. And I think it could even go as far as being an RPG. I really do. Taking on the role of famous adventurers, or you even take on the role of a bearer, just carrying the equipment and stuff, or the flag, or you could be a witch doctor casting magic. I think the possibilities are endless, but I love it as a setting. I just love it. I love that whole African feel to it, the jungle or the deserts. Just brilliant. I don't know. Whenever I play a game of it, I always feel like I'm there. So it's got to have it's got such a rich depth to its content. But going back to the rulebook and the rules are just, well, they're one of the best set of rules I've come across, to be honest. I think it's a really, really balanced system, even though they set games which are purposely unbalanced because they have more points on one side than another. It's kind of set up, but yeah, I mean, like, the movement is great. You've got the measuring sticks and the card system. You know, planning your expedition, and it's just great. Even fighting at night or in torrential rain and things like that, and the dangerous terrain where the creatures come out, and there's so much. You've got the encounter tables of dangerous terrain. It depends whether you're in the jungle or the desert as to what happens to you. And it's just brilliant, and it doesn't take as long as like most conventional games. Say a game of Black Powder could go on for a couple of days. You'll easily get a game of Congo in a day, possibly two. But again, it depends on how the game goes. And I like the fact that each weapon has different dice to roll. The success to hit remains the same throughout, 5+, but your chances of getting that change according to what sided dice you're rolling. Whether you're rolling D6s or D10s or D8s, that kind of thing. I just think it's brilliant. I love, things like you always, like, it's like bolt action. You always hit on the 4 or 5 or whatever it is. That's always a hit. And then other factors affect that. Well, rules such as that, I think, in a game system are easier to remember because you always know what you've got to roll. It's just a matter of getting on. In Congo, it's just a matter of looking at your sheet, which covers, you've got one sheet and it's got all your groups on. That's all you need, and it'll tell you what dice to roll for shooting or melee or making a bravery check and things like that. So yeah, well, that's 5 minutes of Congo talk. Thank you for the question. Brilliant question. I could go on, but I won't. Last question here. Last question, Bert. So Bert, he's ready. Comes from Cruel Silicus. Says, nice P&Q, Pete. Like you said, best to have all your own stuff and no one can criticise or make any copyright accusations against you. Did you ever read the fighting fantasy books? And if so, which ones were your favourites and which did you hate? Oh yes, I read the fighting fantasy books. I've still got them. In fact, I made a video on that a long time ago, and if I remember, I might not remember, but if I do, I'll put a link up in the corner, and if it's not appearing, then I've obviously forgotten. But yes, I did. I had quite a few of them. There's many more I don't have. I also had the sorcery books, the Steve Jackson sorcery books. They were a little bit harder, but they were the same vein as fighting fantasy. But they were bigger, like more. They had more page references and things like that. Which were my favourites? Well, the first one I ever played, obviously, was, well, not obviously, but the first one I ever played was the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and that is one of my favourites because it was the first for me. And it came out originally in a magazine in two editions of a magazine. I was trying to think of the word then, So I got my magazine and half the game was in there, so then you had to buy the next magazine to get the rest of it. And that was good because it was in a big, and the pictures were all big, and it was brilliantly done. I wished I still had that magazine, or those magazines. But yes, and the school, because I was a schoolboy at the time when they came out, I wanted to protect the covers of them, and you could get these plastic sleeve covers in different sizes. 178 and 180 were the two best sizes I found fun, depending on how thick the book was. So it was just like a standard paperback. And I used to get books from my school library with the said covers on, and I used to return them without it. Yes, I'm holding my hands up. I very much doubt anyone still remembers that though, or even is around. I mean, my school wouldn't even remember any records of me, I doubt. The school's still there, it's vastly different now. But yes, I did that, so I was a bad boy. But I wanted to protect my fighting fantasy books. I didn't hate any of them, but I found one of the most difficult ones was Starship Traveller. That was the fourth one, I believe. That was set in space. Yeah, and I could never complete it. I think I did complete it once. I mean, I've played them hundreds of times, must be. Even Warlock of Firetop Mountain, it took me a long time to actually get the right key combination to get to the right reference point where I won the game. I would often die. Even cheating sometimes. I had to cheat to try and win, but I couldn't. So that's tribute to how well they were written. Most of the time I did not cheat though. I'm saying I liked to play with high stat characters, and I always wanted to start with a high luck score, because otherwise testing your luck. So basically in the game, if you don't know anybody, when you test your luck skill goes down. So every time you test your luck, the chances of being lucky next time get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, until eventually it becomes impossible to do. But yeah, Warlock of Firetop Mountain, my favourite, because it was the first one I ever played. I quite liked Forest of Doom. That was a nice easy one. Ian Livingstone either wrote that or he was a co-writer, I can't remember now. Citadel of Chaos, the second one, that was hard, I found, but it had magic in it. That's quite cool. Starship Traveller, City of Thieves was quite good. House of Hell. It was a superhero one, that was quite good as well. Oh, Scorpion Swamp I liked, because I had a mapping system where you could map out your your terrain. You were working for one of three wizards, and that was quite good. But now my overall favourite, Warlock of Firetop Mountain, because it was the first. So the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and Starship Traveller. Didn't hate it, but it was the one I was least likely to go towards, because it was just so damn hard. I always found the Steve Jackson ones slightly harder than the Ian Livingstone ones. I found Ian Livingstone ones were slightly easier to complete. But then of course Steve Jackson went on to do the sorcery books, as I mentioned just now. And they were quite hard, some of them, especially Care City Port of Traps. That was really hard. I mean, there was one where you woke up and your hands were tied to a trap, and it was a pulley system. It was a really detailed drawing, and you had to work out whether you pulled or let the weight up, and there was like a guillotine on you or something. And it took a while to work it out. It really did, but it was possible to do. And yeah, so that was good. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, so Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and what was my least favourite was Starship Traveller, probably because it was so hard. And that's all my questions, comments done. Thank you very much for putting them in. Thank you from Bert. Bertie, his debut. Da 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 da. There. Look, buddy. The camera loves you. It's Bertie. Yeah, so I'm quite chuffed with my wife's knitted animal here, and I think it's supposed to be a lamb. It could be anything. You could make him into a dog or a bear or anything really. So well done. Well done to Mrs. Mini Warzone if she's watching, and thank you. And remember guys, all brushes lead to war. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.